Good morning, traders and investors. Dale, so your trader boys. Interesting day in the markets. Get some big news coming out here. So we're going to be seeing here. We've got Tesla coming out, big news. It's now going to be added to the S&P 500 as of December 21st. So Tesla's up about 13% right now. Walmart's out with earnings. Home Depot's out with earnings. Beat the expectations. So big news there. So they're doing great. And then Amazon's come out and offering pharmaceutical options now. So you can be able to buy your pharmaceuticals online. So huge news coming out in the markets here. Markets are pretty flat. So let's go take a look. Pretty flat. We've got the S&P here. It's down 26.75%. We've got the NASDAQ up slightly. The Dow's down 0.9% and 1.1%. So big mixed market because of Tesla there, but fix. Right, the volatility index, so how much fear is coming into the market based on institutions buying the insurance S&P 500 put contracts. Right, so it's up slightly, not a great deal, 4.9%. We got the U.S. dollar down, bonds are up slightly, oil's down 1.74% after a decent run. Gold is up slightly because dollar's down, and then we got silver, kind of mimicking gold to some degree here. But Apple's down a little. There's your big move in Amazon, up $51, up 1.63%. Netflix is up slightly, so Netflix is going to be your COVID play. Now, a little different because it's a very established company, but COVID is obviously the cases are increasing rapidly. So COVID plays are probably going to come into effect today on that massive increase in COVID plays. So we'll take a look at a couple of those. We've got Microsoft and Facebook both slightly down here. And then here's the big one, 12.5% right here, currently live in Tesla, $51 move there. I'm ecstatic because I'm in that trade right now, so that's awesome. We got Google down slightly and Zoom. Right? Zoom being a COVID play. It has been heavily sold off, and it is starting to come off a demand level right now and moving in the upward direction. So financials are being sold. Obviously, with the cases of COVID here increasing, now we did have mRNA come out yesterday, Myrna, with another vaccine, 94.5% effective in their current cases, in the current study. So that's good news. It's just now, between now and then, what happens with COVID, and between now and then when they release, and we've got no idea when that's really going to be. Projection for Pfizer is early, late January at the earliest, and it's a hell of a process to be able to deliver that, because for that particular vaccine, it has to be contained at minus 80 degrees apparently. So we'll see. We'll see. More and more news is going to be coming out on that as we go forward here. But COVID cases are increasing rapidly, and that's going to put a lot of pressure on the markets here. So our COVID plays are going to be effective today, is what we're going to be looking for. Let's jump over and look at the major markets here. This here is the S&P 500. S&P 500 futures. We are on a long-term chart. Right? This is a monthly chart. So you can see this long-term. We're coming back here. You can see 2009 all the way back here. This is the crash of 2008. Coming off that low in this trend line the whole way through. So on the monthly time frame, you can see we're experiencing some resistance here, some push down here on that monthly time frame due to that trend line. So we've got to kind of expect at least sideways movement at the minimum here. Now, this trend line does not mean that we can't go higher. Okay? What can happen here is if they release stimulus right now, this thing's going to explode to the upside. What was pushing this down will now hold this up. So what was once resistance becomes support, and that'll hold this market up, and that will project off that. So at this point, we don't have that information out yet. You've seen a couple of countries in the world starting to talk about easing. Europe being definitely one of them. Australia came out in the overnight saying they're looking at easing, right, from the central bank. So we've got to expect at this point more downward pressure than upward pressure at this time. I tell you, even until we see more data, more news, etc., it's going to push us through. So we'll break this down to a smaller time frame. Let's drop it down to the weekly chart here. Take a look at the action. Right, so on the weekly chart, you can see the last week we closed right at this trend line here. Let's zoom in a little bit. For those of you out there on your phones and your little screens, right here, we closed right at that trend line. So that trend line is in absolute effect. Now, what this is telling us is institutional algorithms are programmed to these price points. And that's everything we're looking at in technical analysis is identifying what is the institution doing with their money. So with the S&P 500, the 500 largest capital companies in the market, That is absolutely right there evidence that institutions are using that trend line to take profits at. So you can see this week so far, day 2 into this week, we pushed up. We're starting to push back down a little bit here. So expect downward pressure. Okay, now you can see that we've got a support resistance line coming through here. We could easily push down to that support resistance area right before going higher. Now, we're in a highly news-driven market at this point in time. Okay, so election news and overturns of elections and COVID cases and vaccines and blah blah blah, all that sort of stuff's coming into play. What we do is we use that news to make us money, meaning not bad news comes out, we sell. Not good news comes out, we buy. We don't operate that way. We look at what the institutions are doing with their money based on the charts, and we operate and act accordingly. So at this point in time, you can see we are dropping here in the pre-market here. 45 minutes from market open. Dropping here in the pre-market. We've got a little case of demand down here on a lower time frame. We'll take a look at that. It's right down on the 1 hour chart, and we'll kind of see the action of what we could possibly expect here. See if that's a decent level for us to operate from. So right here is your unfilled orders of institutions, a level of demand. We're looking at 3563. So that's going to be the first reasonable. Now, the only problem with this, if you look to the left here, we've had a lot of trading here. Right? So a lot of trading here. So that weakens that level to hold. Right? So a better level would be definitely somewhere here, which is way down at 3441, where we don't have that large amount of trading to the left. So there is a level here. This could definitely hold. You get the 200 period moving average on the 60-minute frame coming through here to support that. So 3563 is that demand level right there. And that could support that and hold us up here for a little bit. If it doesn't, you get support resistance area right down here, 3471. That's a very strong support resistance area. And just underneath that is this little level of demand right here. And that's a proven level of demand by this price action right there at 3457. So 3471 is definitely an area that we can look to retrace, drop down to, and be a buyer at with a great deal of confidence to push higher from that price level. So this is the first area. If the markets remain strong, this is a second area and a much better buying opportunity, being cheap in price. We always like to buy discounted. So buying cheaper in price would be a much better price area down the bottom here, 3471 at that support resistance area as well. Right? And obviously we can push a lot lower than that as well. But you come into the double area of support resistance and explosive candle moves over here. So next area is of massive interest here. I really like this one. It's 3415 on the S&P. So let's jump over and take a look at the Russell. And on the Russell here, loading. Okay, let's come out. We'll do the same thing here on the 2000. Let's come out and take a look at the monthly time frame. Where are we on the big picture? Okay, so big move up, all-time highs. So that is absolutely phenomenal. We're right up near the high still. So the Russell is showing a little greater strength than what the S&P. Okay, so this is just a cyclical rotation. Money coming out of the big caps, going into small caps. And that's typical when the big caps had a massive run. As you guys know, the NASDAQ up is up huge on the year. So, those stocks being so high in price, money is looking for a new home. And was it better? In cheaper, higher value companies based on their PE rate, price to earnings ratio. So this is what's happening here in the Russell 2000 is that cyclical rotation out of those big companies, taking some profit off the big companies, moving that into smaller companies to realize big profits over the longer term. And that's why we're seeing this big move up here. Let's just jump down a couple time frames, come down and look at the daily chart and see what the action is here. Yesterday we had a nice move to the upward direction. And so far today, we are inside yesterday's range right here. So an inside day on the Russell 2000 at this point is a no trade day if you're a day trader. So what generally happens here is because of all the trading that took place here, there's no fresh unfilled orders and the market chops around. Now, if we break below yesterday's low, right, that is an indication to sell as a day trader. And you can come down into this buying area down the bottom here. Right, on the daily time frame, which is going to be working with that 13 period exponential moving average. So that is a area of interest to be a buyer at. jump down to the 60-minute time frame. Let's see what we can see on the Russell. We are into a small area of demand that we traded out a couple times yesterday. Expect this area to be broken. Okay, and once we break this demand level, that is a permission as a day trader or even a swing trader to short. Okay? Once the sellers are stronger than the buyers, this is when we want to exit long positions, as well as we want to look for short plays. What is shorting? Shorting is making money in the downward direction. Right? Making money in the downward direction. So this here massive move is obviously news driven, but that is a great area to be a buyer. Great area to look to be a buyer, and you get this red line coming through here, which is a previous trend line, which you can see was used as resistance, resists, support, support. That's a proven line. So this here would be a great area to be looking for, which is right at 1666. 1666. Right, so that's 100 points lower on the Russell 2000 there to look to be a buyer. So that could take a couple of days to get down there. Right? Or bad news, it's the market we tank. Okay, very, very quickly. Right? There's a lot of volatility, price movement in this market. Let's do the same thing here on the NASDAQ. Let's come out in a monthly time. Look, where are we? What's going on? A lot of lines on this one, so we're going to zoom in here a little bit. You can see we're way up there. Right? We're way above the 13 exponential moving average. So we're very, very high in price. We're very, very extended. Does not mean we can't go higher. It just means the probability is lower for it to go higher. So we're right up into the previous area of supply right here. We're down at a support resistance area at this point in time, but we are seeing that wick being created on the top of the candle, which means we got some selling pressure coming into play here. We'll drop this down. Let's take a look at the daily time frame. Where are we at on the daily chart? So this is an area of supply. Okay, we hit that area there. We came all the way up into this area here. That would have been last week, and we have traded off that price area. So we're now back up into this area that is showing selling here, and we're starting to see a little bit of that selling again today in this 12-100. So expect a drop in price here. Now on the daily time frame, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4 days advancing in price here, and then we've got today. We'll see what happens here. But 4 days up, coming into the selling area. It is likely to be a down day and push to the downside. We have traded outside yesterday's range. Okay, you have traded outside yesterday's range on the upside of the NASDAQ futures here. So dropping this down, we'll take a look at the 60-minute time frame. Zoom in, see what the action is. And we have flat here. Now look at this. This is beautiful right here. And there is a beautiful supply area right in here. So that looks really nice right there. And that is going to be very difficult for this market to get through in that price area right there. So if the market can climb up here, this is a great area to be a seller at. 12,112. Come on, hurry up. Not gonna happen. Anyway, so we got selling. We're flat here. Right? We are looking for a breakdown. Now this demand level, right, is now used and abused and proven. So we're not gonna expect this to hold this price area. The next demand level that looks decent is down here at 11,747. 11,747 is where we can look for a reversal in the upward direction here. This here is a very strong support resistance area. It's been used multiple times for the long term. If we break that, let's look to get down into this area right here. And this is going to be a great area to be a buyer at. It is right in here at this demand level, just above this support resistance area. So 11,314 if we get below this 11,747. So we got a couple of areas here that are looking very, very good. Very interesting. So 11,747 and then 11,314 on the NASDAQ. If we were break down, if we get up in the upward direction here, look to get up into this area up the top here and look for that breakdown off that price area there. So, okay, so looking good there, couple stocks to keep an eye on today. One is going to be Zoom. Right? Zoom is definitely going to be a stock to be looking at. It is coming off a demand level currently right now. So let's take a look. What am I talking about? So you can see big sell-off on the daily time frame here in Zoom. So Zoom is massively discounted. The stock has been up at $588 just a couple weeks ago, and now we're down here pushing up 375. So big drop, big move up to the upside, sideways base, up, back right down, proven, and then explode up here. So Zoom is right in that price area right now, coming up a solid demand area to be a buyer at. Now, what's going to help Zoom is the number of COVID cases increasing. Right? Number of COVID cases increasing is a positive for this particular stock. So coming right in here, right, there's a demand level. Right, push right off, right back in. Okay, if you go down the 60-minute time frame, you get another demand level on top of this demand level, and that's what's pushing this up. Zoom is looking to be opening this morning at $406. So right around here, we're gonna have a little gap up to 406, and that's what the open of Zoom is. So the play on Zoom is look for a gap fill, right, which is just dropping down to the high of yesterday's candle, 399. Right? If that happens around 10 a.m., around 75 to 80% of the time, the market reverses, changes direction at 10 a.m. So we drop down here, right, look for that reverse, and then you can come all the way up. You're going to have selling right in this area here. So target number one would be coming through at 417, and then target number two is we're going to look for it to come up, fill this gap. So we can look at 480 on target two. And let's take 479. 479 for target number two. So great little opportunity there. And as you can see, Zoom can move very quickly, very volatile stock. So a lot of money to be made here in a very short period of time. Right? If Zoom is to drop, okay, this is a phenomenal opportunity to get back in here at 369. So let's go at 370. Right? Stop loss down here at 346. Right? With a lot of upside potential. And if COVID cases continue to increase, leave a runner on. So target one, target two, and let the rest of your trade just run with a stop loss underneath the pivot lows of a 60-minute time frame. So great opportunity there. Another one that is a COVID play is Peloton. And if you're trying to purchase a Peloton at this point in time, you're waiting 3 months at the minimum right now for delivery. So there's massive demand on this product. So you got to think about that. Now a lot of that was already built into this price here. Right? Now with the COVID coming out, with the vaccines coming into play, that absolutely crushed this stock. It absolutely crushed it. So that's where you get the big drop here. So that's giving us a buying opportunity. This is your little demand level right here. Right? We've traded into that demand on top of demand. Right? We're pushed out of that demand level right now. And Peloton is only moving up 70 cents this morning before the market opened, 102.60. So that's giving us a great opportunity to now look for a place to the upper direction. You've got this pivot here, so 106.50 would be target number one. And then we'll look for the gap fill here on a swing trade. So look at 122 for target number two, and then let the rest run. This stock is the opportunity and possibility to really take off. These stocks that I've been involved in heavily, the industry is electric vehicles. This sector is hot right now. So this is NIO. I initially got into NIO here on the break above this pivot high. So in at 30, sold at 53 here on Friday, and then the stock just tanked. So it's come all the way down into this little area down here where the buyers were. You can see that by the tails here of these candles. It's pushed up. Now NIO comes out with earnings tonight. Right, NIO. So if you don't know how to trade and protect yourself over earnings, you've got to exit this trade before close the market today to be safe. If you know how to trade options, you can buy the stock and buy a put option on it and protect yourself over that earnings announcement. But this has the opportunity to have a huge move in the upper direction on earnings. Okay, now that's all pure speculation. Okay, that's not probability, that's possibility. So be very careful with that. But NIO is moving up $1.63 this morning, up 3.5%. So there's an opportunity on NIO. The other one here, okay, I currently have a position in is LI. I got involved in this transaction yesterday. Had several hundred shares. I sold 80% of the transaction, holding 20% of this trade, and it's moving up 5% this morning, up $1.80. So it's going to open at 37.73 But this is another one of these companies. You can see this is just exploding, absolutely exploding. So institutions are moving through heavily on these at this point in time. Another one in the same industry is XBEV. Okay, so same principle. There's $20, gone to 51. We got the retracement. Okay, and these are moving up. Now these are moving up with Tesla this morning. It's going to have a pretty big impact on these. But this is up 6.2% at this point in time. 46.87 is what we're looking at opening it at this point, but it's jumping all over the place. Now another one that just had news come out on it today. Not quite the same industry, not electric vehicles, but this is clean energy. Right, so same thing. This is a early riser right here, right, all the way up to 25 of the last couple of months from a $4 stock. So institutions are moving on this heavily. Volume is coming through massively on this. Now the news that came out on Plug this morning is they're releasing another 750 million shares to the market. So that's going to dilute the stock price based on how many shares are available. When you increase supply, prices go down. So we're going to expect the prices to reduce on this over the next couple of days, but this is a great long-term play. Great long-term play. A lot of opportunity here. Clean energy is going to be the future. Electric vehicles are going to be the future. We're seeing that move happen right across the board. So there's a couple of quick little plays for you. Anything else I can give out there to you? I haven't even looked at this one. But this one is solo, very, very early phases of an electric vehicle. It's currently a $6 stock. You know, everything's moving in on this. So this one it's not moving this morning in the pre-market. There's a lot more risk in this. This is not an established accumulation by institutions just yet, but one to keep on your radar. Okay, so there you go. Right. Dale Suggard, Trader Boys. There's some market events, market news for you, and look at some great charts. Have a great day.